Sarah with Ampersand Unique Gifts and Home Decor. So I'm bringing you a video today that I don't normally do separate intros like this, but I just felt that this one needed a little introduction. I called this one Keeping It Real because a lot of times when you see these YouTube videos and crafters, their editing skills, when they put them on, just the different things, they're toned in to be perfect. Well, this one had different things that kept going wrong. It's about a month late, and I wanted to go ahead and just get it out there and share with you the ideas and keeping it real for you. So feel free to make a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have videos that you haven't posted because of different things like this. And if you haven't already subscribed, I would love to have you as a subscriber and click that notification bell so that you can find out when I upload new videos. So thanks, and here we go. I'll see you on the flip side.
So throughout the video, I'll try to tell you about the different things that happened, just sharing the way things work. So the first thing is going through some thrifted Scrabble pieces. I found out that I really didn't have enough pieces to spell out all the words I wanted. So I picked a couple words that I thought would work for these Valentine's Day projects, and I set them aside, just kind of going through all of the different pieces and tools that I want to use to do these several projects. So it is actually, let's see, February 28th when I'm recording this, but I started this in the middle, the beginning to the middle of January. I have no idea where I got this adorable little palette, but it was probably the dollar store or maybe Walmart or Joann's, but I just thought it was so cute. And here is Keeping It Real number 2, and I have apparently glued shut my DIY liquid patina because I couldn't get it open. But you can either run it under hot water or use something like I did with my pliers to pry it open. Since I was working in the basement and we don't have the bathroom finished down there, I didn't have any hot water. So here I am getting ready. I'm looking to see how that's going to fit on there. I'm going to fray the edges. And it is not until I go to work on a different project that I realize this was actually not the piece I cut out to go on that little palette. I had something that was a little bit bigger that I end up not using now, and that was the one I was going to put on there. But either way, this one worked and it's cute. And I'm just, the mat where you see me working the black piece is actually a little rubber mat that I found out was really easy to scrape the edges, again, just using my little pliers there to give it that roughed look. I don't like it to look like I just cut it and it's a straight edge, mostly because rarely do I ever cut a straight edge. So this way it just gives it kind of that old worn out look. I started out spraying the sides, and then I realized there was enough water down there that I could just set that in there and do it without spraying any more water. So I get it centered where I want it. And then the way I decoupage, so this is the JRV Decoupage Valentine postcard, and I absolutely love it because it's a huge sheet with lots of different designs. So I will be able to use these. I mean, a lot of them could be things that aren't even necessarily Valentine's, but I will go ahead and still have lots of things ready for next year. But anyway, I picked several that I would use, and I'm just putting it on here, and I decoupage the bottom first. So I put it on the item that I'm going to put the paper on. I smooth out all the wrinkles. I'm using a brayer, and I don't decoupage the top of the paper to seal it until it has completely dried and the bottom is good and secure. I find that I have less wrinkles and less rips and accidental movage of the paper around on there. And then I just used my my little knife that I got. I love those things. I get them at Harbor Freight. If it starts to get dull, you just take the pliers and pop off that, and then you have a sharp knife again. And then here I'm just using a scraper to poke it down in those holes. I want it to still show that it's a palette, but I want it to be secured on there so it doesn't peel up. So I split it. I put the decoupage medium down in there, and then I just used my little scraper to poke it in there and secure it and make sure it's all there. So isn't it cute? So then I'm moving on to the next one. This one and this little piece of wood, I think I got at Walmart. But this one is actually my husband's Valentine card. He is a farrier, so he is definitely understanding those cute little cherubs beating the anvil, because as a farrier, he also is a blacksmith and makes other items as well using the anvil. And I just thought that would make the most perfect Valentine for him, rather than just buying a regular old card that would end up in the trash. So here we go, keeping it real still. I lost the footage where I made these molds. So this is IOD Air Dried Clay, and I used the little frames mold, also IOD. And it was not until I was making them and cutting and sanding and smoothing out the centers that I realized it's a lot easier if you don't take the centers out and you just leave the mold in there. So I have one that I did that on, and these other ones, as you can see, I did just use the frame. I let them dry on the tabletop. I did not attach them to anything, and that's not the way I normally do it. I normally attach it when it's still wet, and it kind of transforms to whatever you're putting it on. So here, they were not very smooth on the bottom. It did make for some challenges, but they were still really fun to work with, and I enjoyed making these molds and putting the decoupage paper on them. So here, using the wonderful spring color of Apothecary. I love Apothecary with white wax for spring colors. And I just go ahead and give it a whole coverage. I will tell you, the best way to decoupage and get your picture to show really well is to do it with a white background behind the decoupage paper. But I went ahead and decided to just go ahead and paint the entire mold with the Apothecary. So here's a little square one. I don't actually show this one finished at the end. I apologize. But it fits if anybody has the JRV Valentine decoupage postcard paper, it is perfect with the little dog. And I just loved it. And I put the little dog on cardboard. I then glued it down and put a magnet on the back and made the cutest little magnet. So it was perfect. Again, these ideas, while I was making Valentine items to go in my booth, these could be done with any of the JRV papers and the pictures and used for any occasion. I just did these for this purpose. Again, you can see I always put the first coat down and then put my paper on it. This is just an old piece of fence board. It was left, a small piece just left from another project, and I decided it would be a little bit different, just a little rustic way to use my decoupage paper. And again, I did not put white behind it, so it's just going to be the natural color. And here I am. I've cut my little picture. I went through and decided what looked best where. So I'm going to, again, use my DIY liquid patina, my favorite decoupage medium. And I'm going to put that picture right in the center of that mold, and it's going to look like it is a framed picture, a little framed painting. So I go through and I do this with the rest of them. You can see it's a little bit dark. So when I did my IOD clay, that was the end of the package I had opened. And the clay dries out really fast, especially if you don't have it sealed the best way and you're not really taking care of making sure that it's wrapped up. So rather than open an entirely new package when I didn't have a bunch of things I was going to make with it, I decided to give it a go and see about making a lock and key with hot glue. I had never done this before. It turned out okay. I do prefer air dried clay, but in a pinch, it was pretty cool. And so those are sitting over there getting good and hard. And here I am putting the hugs and kisses that I was able to spell out. And I picked up this little gold ampersand. It's actually a charm, but I picked it up in the clearance section at Joann's. They had a whole bunch of just different little things, so I picked up a few of these ampersands. Ampersands near and dear to my heart, so that's where that came from. But I am gluing these down, and this glue is called glitter glue. This is another Keeping It Real for you. And it's one of my favorite glues. It has a quick grab. And of course, obviously, if you're doing sequins or glitter, and you want something that's going to be a quick grab. And for some reason, it was like using water today. It would not hold. So I finally just put it on there, put the letters where I needed them and where I thought I could set it to the side and it would dry. And eventually it would hold, and it did. So the good news is that now it never actually made it to my booth. I still have it, but it is on there very secure. I love it, and I kept it. But it'll probably make it into my Valentine's decor for sale next year. Here, getting the dried glue out of the end of it here with my pliers. These poor pliers get used for everything. But remember where I said I left my molds on the desk and they dried kind of wonky? Well, I am using Gorilla Wood Glue to glue this down to the board. And I really like the Titebond glue. I don't mind Gorilla Wood Glue, but I like the Titebond glue. But I am in the house and my Titebond's out in the shop. But I'm going to glue this down, and because it is not completely flat on the bottom where it sat, then I'm going to just wrap some drop cloth around here and clamp it and just make sure that it's good and solid. I had these clamps in the house. I'm off trying to find another one, but it was too little, so I'm just going to have to count on these two doing their job. I love embroidery hoops. I am going to use some drop cloth and get it fit in here and make a wall pocket. So I'm just figuring out the size that I need and making sure that it's tight and stretching it off because I'm going to also decoupage on there. So I have to ask, do any of you have fabric scissors that are only for fabric? Comment below if you have said that you might cut somebody's fingers off if they use your fabric scissors for something besides fabric. What? That's only me? Oh. Anyway, I love that little meme that popped up. That I have posted that more than once on my Facebook page because you can ask my family. There are scissors all over this house that say fabric scissors only, but there are lots of pairs of scissors. They can use other ones. So I am cutting this, trying to just figure out the size I need. So, of course, remember when I said I was going to use the one that's on the little palette with it says Hugs and Kisses on a different project? Well, this is the project. I was going to use that one on here. So I am using this one and cutting it down and trying to get that size. And, that whole keeping it real, well, first, you can see I tried to hand sand it, and now I'm going to use sandpaper instead of water just to get that rough edge. But anyway, back to the keeping it real. When I do this next time, and I will because I really love the way this looks, I think this was my favorite project of the day, I will decoupage the picture on the drop cloth flat on the desk before I put it in the embroidery hoop. So yeah, that was a lesson I learned as a part of this project. But I just took my little sander there. I've got a little a battery operated mouse sander, and I just did the edges to kind of give it, again, that little rough look so it doesn't look like I just cut it. Even on the fabric, the DIY liquid patina is an excellent decoupage medium, but I did think at the last second I probably should put something in between there so I don't accidentally glue my pocket shut. So I had that liner for that mold that I had just opened. My lock and key mold was brand new. So I just poked it down in there, and then I decoupaged my fabric. It was a little bit harder to do the fabric again. I think it would have been easier. It kind of stretched out my, because of course I've also already cut it, so I can't really take it out and get a good grab again. So it did stretch out my fabric a little bit, my drop cloth where I got it wet. So this one was a little bit of a challenge. It did dry very attached. It is not peeling up. And with this one, unlike my other rule, this one I did go ahead and get the top down just because it wasn't wanting to stick. So I wanted to make sure to go ahead and put a top coat on it. After it completely dries, I do go back in and add an additional top coat. But this is what I'm going to use those paper roses for. So I loved getting, these paper roses are so easy to make. So I loved getting an opportunity to put these in. And so I'm using some floral wire from the Dollar Tree, and I'm using some floral tape also from the Dollar Tree, and just kind of giving my stem a little more substantial size there so that I can poke it in the inside the wall pocket. Now, I did not show how I made these, but if you comment below if you would like a video on how to make these flowers. You can use anything. I love to use book pages. So this is actually what those are. This was an old hymnal that I used to make all these flowers. These are what were left from a wreath that I made. I made an amazing wreath that was solid of all of these flowers. So I made, I think 4 of them and mixed it in with some baby's breath, and that was all I did. I just made a little hanger with some ribbon, and that was what I did with the embroidery hoop. I really like it better with that antiquing wax to give that hoop a little more dark aged look as opposed to the new look of a brand new embroidery hoop. So here are my hot glue lock and key. I'm just kind of picking off some of the edges. There were little places I kind of cut on it just to even it out, and I am going to attach those to that little block there. And I didn't show you where I decoupaged that on there. I cut out the heart from a larger piece of the postcard, and I just decided it needed something else on there. So here I am again working on my Valentine's Day card for my husband. There's my Keeping It Real again with, I seem to always have that sitting around with the antiquing, the Waverly Antique Wax, and I just add water to it, and then I just add wax to it, and I just go back and forth. I don't ever clean it up, but it works out great. And I'm just giving these letters a little bit of that aged look. They were a little bit too new. Because Scrabble pieces are actually pretty shiny, it was hard to get it on there, but I wanted to go ahead and give my little piece of wood here some of that around the edges because it just looked too white, too new, and I love things that have that aged look. So I just put it on there, wipe it off a little bit, work it in, and then after my pieces dry, I glue them to the bottom. Something else that I do, and you'll see me do it later with some of them, but just to share that I actually do it with everything, I really like the bottom of my pieces to be finished, whether it's the back or the bottom. It's sort of just my thing. And so I could buy stock in felt because I felt everything. So the back of those in the end are covered with a layer of felt so that it just finishes them. So you'll see that I didn't paint it, but that's because I know I'm going to be putting that felt lining on the back. So here I took white, I used White Swan, DIY White Swan, and I painted the very inside of that lock because that way when I put it down on the paper, on the wood, it will look like it goes all the way through. I didn't want to paint it the same Apothecary and have it all be one piece, but I didn't want to try to cut it out because when I did it with the hot glue, it was a little bit harder. So you can see there, can't seem to get my arm to fold the right way. I painted it in Apothecary and set it to the side. Here, I have this really cool, I have no idea where I got it, but I have this really cool little bitty hand drill. It comes with 2 drill bits, and it was the perfect tool to cut a hole through there because I'm going to add a ribbon through there to hook it. I'm not actually going to glue the key down. I'm going to attach it where it is kind of free hanging and swinging. See there, I'm showing you the other drill bit that comes with the little bitty hand drill. And that way I can put that ribbon through there, and I put the ribbon on the back and attach it to the back, and then I put the felt on the back so that the ribbon comes out from behind there, and I don't have to worry about how you attach it. So it just seemed like, it wasn't a very straight edge around there where I did the Apothecary on the side, and I wanted to do something to kind of blend in that white. I struggled with this, and this is actually a tiny little cutting board that came out of a picnic basket that I had. And so I sold the picnic basket and did some other things. I sold all the dishes at different points, and some of them, it was old and worn out. But I just kept the wood because I was originally thinking I'd make a tiny little riser, but it was so small, and I had another one like that that took forever to sell. So I thought, nah, I'll just use this little piece of wood for my Valentine. So after layers back and forth of the Apothecary and the white, I finally got it the way I wanted it. So here I'm using DIY white wax. And I know right now you're thinking, oh my goodness, she just completely covered that up. You can't even see the picture anymore. But give me a minute and you'll see how awesome it is. It really picks up on the kind of, it had a little bit of some wrinkles from where the decoupage paper was and from where the clay wasn't totally perfectly smooth under there. And I really, really like the way it came out. Again, I don't sell DIY products yet, but if you are interested in learning about them, then definitely let me know, because I do have lots of friends that do. But see, isn't that great how it just, now the picture's there again, and that wax stays down inside all that detail. And I am going to add another product that is one of my favorite DIY products. Oh my goodness. That is called the Golden Rule, and it is a gold gilding wax. I just used my finger. I've put it on so many things, and you can see it doesn't even hardly look like I've used any. A little bit goes a long way, so it makes it a great value. But I'm adding some gold in here. I did get it on the frame, so you can, or I'm sorry, on the picture, so you can see me taking a rag trying to get it off my picture, because most of the time our gold frames don't go into our picture. And then I'll take some white wax and cover up where I took the white wax off. So, again, we're keeping it real. Not everything's perfect. I just wanted to make sure if you're used to watching YouTubers that make everything look easy and everything turns out perfect, and you did not know that we actually have lots of things that go wrong, then this video is for you, because now you can learn that, this is the way it really goes. And that's one of my favorite things also about this video, is the fact that I don't finish one product and show you, here's the project and from beginning to end, and then here's a second project from beginning to end. If I was really, keeping this real, it would be like, 2 hours and 45 minutes of video that you would watch, where I jump back and forth from one thing to the next while I'm waiting for it to dry. So while my glue and my clamps did a really good job on this, it still left some gaps that just really bothered me. So I was looking around trying to see what did I have in my craft room, and I don't remember why I had bought this, but I had some of that Flex Seal caulk, and I thought, all right, give it a shot. And it did a great job. So here is where I put the embroidery hoop together. But again, back to the idea that I can't stand when things aren't finished on the back. I decided to pull all those out and do a little bit of work here. Taking that cool little knife from Harbor Freight, I cut down, I had glued it. So what you're not seeing is that was actually really hard, because I had taken the glue and run glue through there so that it wouldn't slide out, and it would seal it really well. So it made it really easy to cut. It just kind of cut off like I was cutting a little piece of plastic. And then just to cover where it was and where I cut kind of the embroidery hoop, because my knife was really sharp, I decided to take some tacky glue and some rickrack and just cover that up to finish it out. So that is what I am doing here. And do you guys buy craft supplies that you just seem to end up with a ton of. It's like every time you go to the store, you buy something and then you get home and you have dozens of them. Comment below what your most common craft supply is that you buy and then you're like, oh man, I didn't need that. Well, I have probably 6 bottles of this tacky glue because I use it with everything. And I am using it to attach this. I love that it dries clear, that it's easy to use. And it's really not that expensive. I buy it, at Walmart or some of the little smaller craft places, but it's not that expensive, and it does great with fabric and other things. It will, there's a lot of different craft products that you can use. I'll also use fabric tack if I'm hooking 2 pieces of fabric together, but here this was perfect to hold my rickrack down. But again, just because this will be for sale in my booth, I want to make sure that it has a good finished edge, because people aren't just buying the front of your projects, they're buying the back of them too. So going through and attaching that on here, and then I will put the flowers back in it. So I just want to take this time and thank everybody for sticking with me this long and for putting up with all of my crazy keeping it real and not the fanciest editing. And I just want to thank those of you that have already subscribed. And if you have not, but DIY projects, repurposing items, thrift flips, if those are your thing, then I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to grow and get more subscribers here, so I will have more video content this year as well and make it worth your while. And then if you click that little notification bell, then it'll let you know every time I upload a video. So that would be awesome. If you have any questions about anything that I've done, or if there's anything you want to see me do, then just throw a comment down there and let me know. I do read all of my own comments and I will reply, and I'm more than happy to try anything that you suggest. I do love remaking things, reselling things. I have a booth and a vendor. It's a little antique treasures mall in Corydon, Indiana. And that is where I sell my projects. And then I also do several markets, the biggest one being the Corydon Extravaganza. And it is a wonderful, huge market here in southern Indiana. So there we go. You can see that beautiful finished look. So here we are. Again, this dried, it held it on perfectly, but it ended up being so shiny that I thought, I started out thinking I'm just going to kind of give it a dry brush, but then I thought, I'm just going to go ahead and paint it real well, and then I'll take something and sand it back and kind of create a dry brush over the whole piece. So here I am. This was just I'm reusing a mailer that I had received something in, and I'm using that for my cardboard backing. And I've got 2 of these that I'm going to put just a piece of cardboard. I'm just going to glue my frame to the cardboard and then put a little hanger on it and make kind of an ornament. And again, these are just kind of Valentine's Day. They're just something that you can hang, or you could just set it in your tiered tray if you didn't want to hang it up. I also have a little wire tree that I use, and I hang cookie cutters and little things like this on for all seasons. So that would be great there. So here I am. I am using the IOD typesetting stamps, and this is onto my next, I don't even know what number we're on anymore, Keeping It Real, and they will not stick to this plastic. Oh my goodness, they kept falling. So I went to this, it's a hard plastic. It's from Prima. It has the grid on it, and I had never used it before today, but it stuck really well to that, and I was able to get that finished. So I